In today's Farm Report, growing your business traditionally meant increasing your cattle herd or expanding your operations to more stores. But as Jim Sulphur with the University of Minnesota Extension Service Office points out, that can mean other things as well.
So I'm going to take about, just in general, about growing your business. And often when you hear people in my role or other people in extension or in industry, that necessarily means you're going to have to go from 50 to 100 cows. Or if you're got one hardware store, you've got to have 2 or 3 or 4 hardware stores. I don't think that's really true. I think growing your business may be different than that. It may be, if you've got 50 cows, maybe there's a way you can add income some other way. But I think most people in my role or your lender or your farm management instructor or other business advisors you have, I think we can all accept and recognize the fact that if you're going to be in business more than 5 years, for sure, you're going to have to somehow grow income in your business, because healthcare costs are going to continue to go up. Living costs are going to continue to go up, even if inflation is fairly low. So you've only got a couple of options. You can either grow that income, or it's possible that you can pay down enough debt that maybe you can use some of that debt to live off of as a family. But then I think you've got to accept the fact that you're kind of living off depreciation, and long term that business may not be able to be transferred either to another generation or possibly even be sold, because your assets really aren't going to be worth a lot of money. But a couple of things to think about is make sure that your business really isn't a hobby. We raised cattle at home, and for us it was really a hobby. It was more of an experience for our kids. We really didn't anticipate making any money on them. We tried awful hard, but that's kind of difficult if it's a hobby. So try to think about long term where your business wants to be and kind of treat it as a business. And as a business, you need to be thinking about maybe where you want to be in 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 years. And that's sometimes hard, particularly in a dairy farm, because you've got so much work to do every single day. As you go, remember, as you grow or as your business grows, remember you can develop a lot of these skills. I talk to producers that say, oh, I could never ever hire anybody. I can go to farms that 10 or 15 years ago really felt they could never hire anybody, and they're actually darn good employers. And so remember that over time, all of us can develop new skills if we really want to do that. And I think it's often real rewarding for us to develop skills. And remember again to think about what your competition is, where that's going, and that growing for you may be different than growing for your neighbor, and you don't have to grow at the same pace. But I think it is important for you to think about, if you sit down with your family and really determine where your business wants to be in the next 4 or 5 or 6 years, and then develop a plan to get there. And I think oftentimes that can really reinvigorate us, because we can develop new skills, and so look it upon as a journey instead of really something I kind of really need to have to do. This has been Jim Sulphur with the University of Minnesota Extension in St. Cloud.
Leaders of key Senate committees are asking the Obama administration to allow more time for public comment on recommendations for the 2015 dietary guidelines. The current 45-day comment period ends on April 8th. The chairman and ranking Democrats on the Agriculture and Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions committees are asking for an additional 30 days. Technology inundates us every day, whether it's smartphones and Facebook or new technology like precision planting for corn. Jim Sulphur with the University of Minnesota Extension Service Office talks about what to think about when you're looking at new technology.
It's hardly a week I go by where I don't pick up a magazine and there's some new technology that's coming out that's going to make life greater and better for every dairy producer that's out there, and you really need to invest in that money. But it's always not really easy to evaluate that technology for your farm. So I'm going to spend today kind of talking about maybe some ways that you can evaluate some of these technologies for your farm. First of all, I'd just like to start up front in saying I think there's always going to be a future for simple farms that don't invest in a lot of technology. So first of all, I think often producers think, boy, unless I'm really on this technology bandwagon and I have the latest and the greatest I really am going to get myself in trouble. I remember a couple of years ago when Jerry Jones, who's the owner of the Cowboys, was shown on TV, and he had a dumb phone. He just had a flip phone, and everybody was making fun of him. And I think, if that met his needs, saved a lot of money, so what makes anybody believe that he really needs a smartphone? And he was one of the richest people that are in the world. So again, don't believe you have to have the latest and greatest of everything in order to be a successful producer by any stretch of any imagination. First of all, one of the things that I think is maybe the most important thing is make sure that it's represented by a reputable vendor, that there's some research behind it, and that the dealer you're purchasing this from is not really a fly-by-night, that they're going to be there, they're going to be able to support this technology, they're going to sell enough of it that they really have the ability to keep up with the technology and service it like it needs to be serviced, because often these technologies are kind of a challenge for people to service themselves. You just can't go down to Fleet Farm and buy parts. Make sure it solves a problem that you've got on a farm, that you're just not buying this technology just because it's cool and you need a technology. Really evaluate and say, okay, do I really have an issue that this technology is going to fix or improve my profitability, or is it just one of these things that it's kind of a nice to have technology? Make sure there's pretty good research behind it, and that's often a challenge, I think, with these technologies. The marketing tends to get a little bit ahead of the research, where often it's not always really researched very well, and then unfortunately the first producers that put it in end up doing a lot of that research. And so kind of think about that, and then make sure that the product you're purchasing integrates with all your other systems on your farm. And I think that's, again, one of the real challenges we have right now. We invest in these technologies and we're doing double and triple entry just because these technologies don't visit with each other. So again, try to do a fair job of evaluating these technologies. It's a hard job, because for most farmers and other people, it's not our area specialty, and there's sure a lot of them coming every day. This has been Jim Selfer with the University of Minnesota Extension in St. Cloud.
We're not dealing with the important issues facing all of agriculture,
because we're fussing about these issues within agriculture.
Agriculture Secretary Tom Vilsack, in his appearance at the National Farmers Union meeting in Wichita Monday, telling the group there are some who don't understand agriculture but who want to gut its support programs, looking for ways to do it. And so
every minute that agriculture takes fighting within agriculture is a minute we're not using to advocate about agriculture to the rest of the country. And it's a sophisticated, difficult business that's complicated, and when you're dealing with 99% of America that doesn't understand what it has and how it got what it has and doesn't appreciate what it has, you have got to message more effectively. We have to message more effectively.
And in a more united fashion, he says. In Washington, Gary Crawford for the U.S. Department of Agriculture.
There is interest in a local community food co-op here in Little Falls. Many groups are interested in maybe starting one, and currently there's a survey going on to gauge community interest. One of those interested groups is the Little Falls Schools. Stephen Jones, superintendent of Little Falls Schools, talks about why local food is so important for the district.
It really is kind of a multi-leveled concern. First and foremost, if you've watched Little Falls Schools and our push towards healthy and wellness driven initiatives, you'll know that we, for the last 2 years and now embarking on our third year, have planted a 2-acre organic vegetable garden, collaborating with the Franciscan Sisters of Little Falls. These food products have come back into our school cafeterias. Last year, it was right around 10,000 pounds of fresh vegetables that have come back into our school cafeteria, directly into our program. This is something that's fairly unique among school districts in the state of Minnesota, where we're growing our own vegetables to bring back into our own school district.
And while a food co-op may be a new concept for the Little Falls School District, it is definitely not the first time that the school has looked at sourcing local food. Jones talks about what the Little Falls School District has been doing in the past to promote local food engagement.
Since we started the garden, we've done a number of other initiatives that have been centered around food. We've tripled the size of our greenhouse here at Little Falls Community Schools. We've put up a high tunnel, a 30 by 48 foot high tunnel that also will be used to produce fresh vegetables to be consumed by our students. We're very, very intrigued by the food hub that is going out in the old Crestliner building. We expect that the district will be involved at some level, probably mostly as a user.
We've been speaking with Stephen Jones, superintendent of Little Falls Schools, regarding the local food co-op interest and the survey that is currently going around. Go to surveymonkey.com/s/food-coop-4LF to take the survey.
On this National Agriculture Day, USDA Secretary Tom Vilsack has this message.
It's appropriate that we have a day each and every year and a week each year where we focus attention on the important role that farmers, ranchers, and producers play in American life. And it's an opportunity for us to express our appreciation.
Vilsack thanked the scientists, conservationists, farmers, and ranchers dedicated to the work that feeds the nation and helps to keep Americans safe.
Appreciation for the extraordinary diversity of food that we enjoy in this country, the safety of the food that we enjoy in this country.
And the affordability of the food we enjoy, says the Secretary.
Americans will be able to know on this Ag Day that they spend less money as a percentage of their income for food than any folks around the world.
Adding, because American farmers are able to provide for so many, it gives others the freedom to pursue goals and livelihoods beyond growing the food that we all need to survive. For USDA Radio, Susan Carter, Washington, D.C.